We are live here in Dallas, Ohio State, getting ready to take on Miami in the Cotton Bowl. My name is Biscardi, and I'm joined today by Hanna Williford. And we've got some pregame keys for you. We're going to preview the game, give our score predictions at the end, so make sure you're staying tuned. Hanna, this Cotton Bowl, taking everything in today.
Yeah.
What's sticking out to you in this matchup?
Obviously, the defense on both teams is going to be strong. And I think for Ohio State, one thing that's really standing out is that they're fully healthy.
Yeah.
JJ's healthy, and I think that's huge because for a long stretch, he wasn't. Same with Carnell Tate.
Right. And with JJ, too, even going through practice, there was a lot of talk going around inside the facility that they weren't at 100% because he wasn't running fast enough. And you can see the speed jump just here in the last month. Ohio State's been off for 25 days. They had November to rest. You know, he missed the one game. He fought to play against Michigan, which a lot went into that Big Ten championship game. Still played at that level, and Dave praised him a lot. Same with Carnell Tate.
Yeah.
Having those guys fully healthy on a fast track like we have here in Dallas today, the offense is going to get unlocked, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned those 25 days that they've had off, and I actually think that's an advantage for Ohio State. If you look at last year, all four teams with the first round bye did not win, but I think Ohio State really needed these last few weeks to recharge and regroup after that loss to Indiana.
They did, and so many things went on in that time period. I mean, you look at the beginning of November for Ohio State to the end of November for Ohio State, and now sitting here on December 31st, the difference of what that team's had to go through.
Yeah.
They beat Michigan, they lose to Indiana, Brian Hartline's going to USF.
Yeah.
Recalibrating and then preparing, I think, has been the big key for Ohio State in the last 25 days. And even getting into the lore of this matchup going in, okay, Ohio State and Miami, the infamous 2002 National Championship game in the Fiesta Bowl. The Miami fans have been talking about this more than Ohio State fans because they feel that they were robbed. And so they feel like they have something to prove here. Now getting another shot at Ohio State in a game for a trophy. And yesterday, Mario Cristobal was actually asked about that. Are they talking about it inside the program, inside the facility? Who's making the comments? And he said, yeah, they talk about it, but this is the 2025 Miami Hurricanes and the 2025 Ohio State Buckeyes, and that's what this game is about today.
Exactly. And you know, it does mean a little bit more to Jeremiah Smith because he's from Miami. So that adds a little bit more as well. And he knows a lot of these players, a lot of these coaches, grew up watching them, playing with them. So he said he might get a little chippy out there today too. So that adds even more to this game.
He did. And Brandon Innes and Kenyatta Jackson, also from South Florida here.
Yeah.
And then you have a guy like Mark Fletcher. He was committed to Ohio State. Now he's playing for Miami. He's their starting running back. And he's looking to have a big game. He rushed for over 170 yards against Texas A&M. And now Miami needs to establish the running game so they can open up this passing game on this really vaunted Ohio State pass defense. It's one of the best in the country. And then how do they get Malachi and Tony Evaldo? I think that's one of the keys for Miami, as well as which Carson Beck is going to show up. For that.
Yeah. You know, I think if Ohio State forces Carson Beck into a really pass-heavy game, that he might struggle. So I think that's what they need to do. And like you said, which version of him is going to show up here today?
That's going to be a huge key for Miami. And then Carson Beck. Do we get good Carson Beck back? Carson Beck turnovers, I think, are really going to tilt this game one way or the other. And if Miami wants to win, I think they need to be +2 in the turnover battle. And then for Ohio State, Hanna, what stands out to you for the Buckeyes for their key to victory? Losing to Indiana, they didn't execute. What are you seeing for the Buckeyes here as far as the key?
You know, Ohio State did not execute offensively against Indiana in that Big Ten championship. And I think that when they've had these last few weeks off, that's been a huge focus for them. And I think just pass protection has to be better. Julian Sayin was sacked 5 times against Indiana. So I think that's been a big focus for them over these last few weeks. But ultimately, I think Ohio State is going to take this one. I think they're going to come out on top today.
I do. We'll get to score predictions here in a minute. I want to stay right on the offensive line. Gabe Van Sickle, Josh Padilla. They both had a lot of meaningful snaps. They've played in games throughout the season. We know Tigger Shabola, likely not going to play, has been listed as doubtful on the depth chart. I don't think we're going to see him today. I would imagine we get Gabe Van Sickle. So for Ohio State, I think you feel good having Gabe come in because he's had those reps. And this is, again, not unfamiliar territory for Ohio State because they had to overcome this last year. So, again, they're in the same position as a year ago. They have a 13-10 loss. They didn't execute in the game. They missed field goals, so there were miscues on special teams. And then you look at the offensive line injuries. They've been here before. So it's not unfamiliar territory for the Buckeyes and for a team that Ryan Day has emphasized routine, and a strong foundation. It's a storm when you get injured. It's a storm that comes when you lose a game But when he said our foundation is going to be stronger than theirs, that's what he means by overcoming these obstacles.
Yeah, definitely. And they've taken the time to really identify what those issues were in their last loss. And like you said, very similar to how things went last season with their loss to Michigan. And this year, another 13-10 loss. And after the Big Ten championship, Brandon Innes said, he sat there and said, wow, I just realized that was the exact same score as well. So a lot of similarities heading into this playoff game for the Buckeyes.
It was, and you look at resilience for Ohio State. That's another big key when you say, okay, can this team make a run? Because it's not the same team as it is a year ago. Ryan Day said it's actually a younger team.
Yeah,
we're going to have a lot of guys leave on the defensive side of the football, he said, but it's still a younger team. Julian Sand, a redshirt freshman, he won the Freshman of the Year award, which is a huge accomplishment. He has stayed poised in every big moment possible, whether it's starting against Texas, having a conservative game plan, or being asked to go win a game in Ann Arbor in the snow, going to New York as a Heisman finalist, then losing in the Big Ten championship game. How does he respond? I think he's going to respond well in this game. And then offensively, the play calling. This is another big thing for Ohio State right now. Ryan Hartline going to USF. What do? Ryan Day's going to take over. He's going to be the ultimate play caller today, but it's still going to be a group effort. Ryan Hartline is going to be in the box. Or Brian Hartline's going to be on the sideline. Keenan Bailey's going upstairs into the box to help organizationally, Ryan Day said. So that's going to be another factor here for the Buckeyes, how they adjust to that.
Definitely. And, like you said, Ryan Day has said it is a group effort, but ultimately he has the final say. And that's a big difference from how things have been all season long. But, kind of brutal timing with Hartline taking the head coaching job. And so some changes had to be made. But ultimately, I do think it's the right decision.
It is. And Ryan Day, too, because I asked him about this. Why are you confident that you can do this? And that came off actually a question I asked him at Media Day, where I said, Coach Day, what's the biggest leadership lesson that you've learned? And then why do you have confidence in this group? He said, well, it all starts with people.
Yeah.
And he said getting the right people. And he believes and he knows that he has the right people in place on that staff, on this team. And that's why they're confident to execute something like this. And the trust that he has in Matt Patricia.
Yeah.
The defense has been so great all year. He doesn't have to be overly involved like he was in the back half of the season last year. It's almost like we have two head coaches on this team, per se.
Exactly.
Ryan Day can now be the head coach of the offense as well as the team. And then Matt Patricia, he can trust fully with that defense to put a game plan together and then execute.
Yeah, definitely. And, Hartline's still going to be involved.
Right.
He's not totally taking a seat in this. He's a Buckeye to his core, and I think it does matter to him how Ohio State finishes out this season.
It absolutely does, Hannah. And now let's get to score predictions here.
Okay.
I know ours are pretty similar, but let's see. Ohio State, Miami, everything going into this game, number 2 versus number 10, a trip to the Fiesta Bowl on the line against either Georgia or Ole Miss. Who do you think wins today and what's the score?
Like I said, I think Ohio State is going to take this one 27-13. What about you?
I've got Ohio State going 28-13. I'll take one more point. I don't think we're going to see a field goal.
Okay.
No.
We're pretty close. Honestly, I think Ohio State is going to start strong, and I do think Miami will get in the end zone once, but they're going to have to rely on those field goals, which they struggled against Texas A&M. They missed 3.
They did, and yes, wind was a factor in that game, but still, you have to overcome those elements. And in here, it's a fast track. There's not going to be any wind.
No.
It's going to be a true game. And for Carson Beck, which one shows up? Does the Ohio State defense get a turnover? All those things are going to factor in for Miami as far as how can they sustain drives to score. When I've looked at all of Ohio State's opponents this year, I ask myself, can this team sustain 3 drives to go score at least 21 points?
Yep.
And if Ohio State doesn't, they're going to have to have beaten themselves because the offense is just too good.
Yep.
And so I asked myself that today, and I don't think Miami can get to 21.
I don't either.
I think Ohio State can. I think 21 points wins the game. But I'll take the Buckeyes 28-13. And
okay, 27-13.
There we go. So what are your closing thoughts here as we're getting closer and closer to kickoff? You can feel the energy starting to rise in the building, the atmosphere, it's settling in.
Yeah.
We're going through the flag practice right behind us, as you saw.
Yeah. It's just great to be here. My first time here in AT&T Stadium, and both teams are going to be arriving any minute. You can just feel the excitement and the energy from everyone in here. So I think when both teams get in here and start warming up, they're going to be in the zone, and you're going to be able to see how locked in they are.
They are. And Ryan Day said all year, when we have to turn up the gas, we will.
Yep.
I think today's the day we see him turn up the gas. I expect Julian Sand to get unlocked with that offense and really command this game. I think you're going to see how much he's grown up in just a short month.
Yeah.
I think Julian Sand's going to grow up today. But guys, again, Blake Biscardi with Hanna Williford live here in Arlington for the Cotton Bowl. Thank you guys for tuning in. Stay tuned for more coverage throughout the rest of the game, and we will see you guys post-game.